Yes, I'd like to nominate you, please.
Thank you, Councillor Williams.
Happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Harman. Can I ask the clerk just first of all to deal with the housekeeping measures?
Thank you, Chair. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. The meeting may also be recorded or streamed for live or subsequent broadcast by members of the public, although ultimate discretion in this matter lies with the Chair in case of disruption. For those in the room, please note that if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point at the War Memorial in the gardens opposite the front of this building in Bourne Avenue. Finally, please can we ensure background noise is kept to a minimum and mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. For those in the room, this includes turning off microphones and turning down the volume completely on laptops. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 2 on this morning's agenda, apologies. Can I just check with the clerk with regards to any apologies for this meeting? None
received.
Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Members, are there any declarations of interest? First of all, Councillor Harman.
None.
Thank you. And Councillor Williams.
None from me.
Thank you. Item 4, protocol for public speaking at hearings. A protocol for public speaking at meetings of the Licensing Subcommittee is included within the agenda sheet for noting. Item 5, application for renewal of SED licence Wiggle 158 Christchurch Road, Bournemouth. I will now ask each participant to introduce themselves and state their role. I'm Councillor David Flagg, elected chairman for this morning's subcommittee meeting.
I'm Lawrence Williams. I'm also a member of the committee.
I'm Emily Harman, Councillor Emily Harman. I am a ward councillor for Parkstone and a member of the licensing committee.
Thank you. We're also joined this morning by Councillors Chapman Law and Keddy, who are the reserved members for this meeting, but they're not required to participate, but they will be present for the purposes of observing for training purposes. They will take no part in the hearing or any deliberations. We're also joined this morning by Councillor Calavan, who was newly appointed to the member of the licensing committee last evening at full council, and he's joining us for the purposes of observation and training. And welcome to Councillor Calavan. And once again, Mr. Councillor Calavan will not take part in any of the hearing or deliberations. BCP Council, please.
Sarah Rogers, Principal Licensing Officer.
I'm Linda Cole, Legal Advisor to the committee this morning.
Nananka Randall, Licensing and Trading Standards Manager.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Cutler and I'm clerk to the Licensing Subcommittee today.
Thank you. And for the applicant, please.
Jasper Ojla, MD at Wiggle.
And Taran Ojla, manager at Wiggle.
Thank you. And objecting.
I'm Susan Stockwell and I'm objection 2.
Thank you. Before I run through the procedure, please may I check that all persons who have given notice of their intention to speak have been identified, and any person who wishes to withdraw a representation or wishes not to speak has been identified. If there are no comments, I will take this as correct. I will now explain the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing as follows. The licensing officer presents the report, questions of the licensing officer by all parties, members of the subcommittee to go first. The applicant will make their application, questions of the applicant by all parties, members of the subcommittee to go first. Objectors will make their representations, questions of persons objecting by all parties, members of the subcommittee, to go first. All parties will be given an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. The hearing will then conclude. The subcommittee will deliberate in private with the legal advisor and clerk present. Notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing was held. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. I will now ask all parties to confirm agreement on the proposed procedure or make representations. Mr. Paul Olger.
Yes, I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Taran Olger.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you. Mrs. Stockwell.
Yes, Chair, agreed.
Thank you. Sarah Rogers.
Yes, thank you.
Linda Cole.
Yes, Chair.
And Nananka Randall.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Please may I remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they have already given in writing, but to expand on their written representations. All questions are to be asked through the chair, and there will be no cross-examination of parties. I will now ask the licensing officer to present the report. Sarah.
Thank you. Application is made by Wellcome Limited for the renewal of the sex establishment licence held at 159 Old Christchurch Road for a further 12-month period. The premises have been operating as an adult lap dancing club for the last 19 years approximately, since they took over in 2006, when in that time the premises were operating as a cabaret restaurant. They've had the benefit of a sexual entertainment venue licence, which permits the live performance of nudity since legislation came into effect on the 6th of April 2010. The application made complies with the relevant legislation, and the necessary site and newspaper notices were published in accordance with that legislation. As a result, 2 objections were received. There have not been any complaints received during the last 12-month period, and therefore no reason to visit the premises to ensure compliance. No objections were received from any responsible authorities, as identified under the Licensing Act 2003, who were also consulted with this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Members, are there any questions for the officer, please? Councillor Harman.
Yeah, can I ask, do we have the date of when the venue was last visited by the licensing authority? I know it mentions sort of regular visits can be carried out. Is that something that's happened over the last 12-month period?
We haven't visited since the last renewal, but we did visit before the 2024 renewal application, so just over 12 months ago.
Perfect, and I'm assuming no concerns came as a result. Thank you.
Councillor Williams.
None at present, thank you.
Thank you. Can I now ask the applicant to address the committee, please? Oh, sorry, before we do, are there any questions for the licensing officer at all? Mrs. Stockwell.
I just have the one question. It has come up before, so I apologise for not giving previous notice of it. But it's just to ask whether you're able to confirm that, although you've recommended to either grant or refuse, that there is power to set conditions on a grant, as well as the straight grant or refuse.
Yes, I believe we can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm obliged, Chair.
No questions?
No questions.
Okay. Would you be kind enough to address the committee then with regards to your application, please?
Well, good morning, everybody. Thankfully, we've given you quite a comprehensive response, so there's not an awful lot for us to add on and go forward with, and we really welcome any questions that you may have additionally.
Okay. Members, with regards to the information that we've already been provided, are there any questions for the applicants? Councillor Harman.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to ask, in the committee report that was produced, there's mention of what's being done to ensure high levels of staff welfare. I'd like to hear a little bit more from you both, if that's okay, about what measures are in place to ensure that the welfare of your staff is sort of forefront of your minds, and what you're doing to ensure the safety of staff as well. Thank you.
When you say staff, are you referring to bar staff, security staff, or the performers?
Well, predominantly performers, but I'd be keen to hear about everybody who's employed by the venue. Thank you.
Yeah, so performers, obviously, they're the forefront of our venues, and the SEV licensing is, in fact, designed to keep performers safety paramount. So SIA door staff are employed at all the premises. They also go through training that we undertake individually with them as well about identifying any safety risks, anything to do with dancers that might feel unsafe at any times. You know, generally with SEV premises, we don't really get issues. You know, customers are told and informed of the rules before they enter the premises. They are told it is strictly no touching at all times. And dancers, really, they're quite happy with the environment that they work in. There are channels that they can raise with us if they'd like to. So they can raise it with a member of female staff at the premises. They can raise it with management directly. They can raise it through our website if they like. If they want to keep it confidential, they can do it that way. So we've got measures in place to keep the dancers safe at all times. Staff also go through training as well. So not only to do with alcohol licensing, but to do with SEV licensing as well. So that's not something we're required to do, but we actually do that as a safety precaution as well. So they can identify anything. The customer's intoxicated, if he is acting in a way that we're not happy with, if it's a breach of the customer's code of conduct. So staff are individually trained with that as well. So a lot of premises, they'll take on staff, they've got bar experience, they're ready to go on the bar. When we take staff on, they might have bar experience, but they may not have experience working in an SEV. So we take it really seriously, and they do understand the licensing protocols. Because of course, you know, if we're visited by licensing and the staff don't understand the licensing procedure, how can we sit here in front of you today and put our case forward to say, yeah, we're responsible operators? Well, we've got all the documentation, we've got all the training in place. And then if there ever is an incident, then the staff will undergo retraining. They know they should be trained what to do and how to manage it effectively. It's preventing an issue before it becomes an issue. That's, you know, really what's built our company up to be running SEV premises for over 20 years.
Sorry, just two more quick questions. So number one, on the back of what you said, I'm assuming you have an up-to-date incident log that would be readily available. Fantastic. And then finally, just when your staff leave the premises, in particular the female staff, I noted in the report there was mention of escorting the women to taxis if necessary, so you know we can ensure that they get home safely. Are there any other measures in place to ensure once the dancers or the performers leave the club, you know, their safety is paramount?
Well, of course, we've got that taxi escort service, which is not only just for performers, but also for customers as well. So male, female customers that are leaving our premises, our door staff will walk them to their non-ordered taxi, usually, as they're leaving the premises. Outside of that, we do work with a couple of female charities as well. So we work with Amber Charity. I did put that in the report, and City Life Church, we work with those as well. So extra support services available for the dancers, confidential outside of us. So we don't, you know, financially support those charities. They work independently and they're there to support our dancers for any, you know, mental health, anything. If they've got a different channel to speak to somebody, they've got that available to them as well. But generally, once the dancers left the premises, once they're in their taxi, their licensed taxi, generally they've left the premises and they're safe and happy, and touch wood, we've never had any incidences that we're aware of thereafter.
And just that was my final point. Just to, I was going to ask if there have been any incidents over the last 12 months where someone has left the venue and something has happened. That would be of note.
Touch wood, thank God, no, we've not had any incidences with any performers leaving the premises.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams?
Well, my question was the last question that Councillor Harman asked, but has nobody been asked to leave the premises in the last 12 months at all?
As with any licensed premises, people do get asked to leave the premises. Now, that could be for a variety of reasons. That could be that they're too intoxicated. It could be for inappropriate behaviour. It could be for a variety of reasons. But we've not had any serious incidences where customers have had to be, you know, physically ejected or where they've raised a claim. anything like that we've not had. But any licensed premises would have some people that would be refused entry, variety of reasons.
Would you be able to give an estimate of how many in the last 12 months?
It's hard to give an estimate without having our door supervisor book in front of me. We do log all of this, so we have a door supervisor book. So any ejections, any refusals for no ID, for example, if they're too intoxicated, we do keep a log of that in our door incident supervisor book. That's a log that door staff sign at the start of the night. They do their toilet checks, fire exit checks, capacity checks. They do all of that in this logbook, which is available for licensing to inspect at any time.
Thank you. Just one question from me. Do you both attend the venue or separately or together all the time? Are one of you on the premises all the time, or?
Well, I'm actually the DPS at Wiggle Bournemouth, and I was there last night. So I finished there at 5 AM and I went to bed at 7, and I'm back here at 10 o'clock. So we are there physically at the premises most of the time now. We've got multiple premises. As much as we can, try and visit them at least once a week to ensure everything's being maintained, everything's being checked. So we do a fair bit of mileage.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions at all for the applicant? Mrs. Stockwell, do you have any questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
Officers, do you have any questions at all? Thank you. In which case then, if there are no further questions, we'll move on to the objectors, and we have Mrs. Stockwell with us this morning. Mrs. Stockwell, would you like to address the committee, please?
Thank you, Chair. Well, as you can probably see, it's really quite a thick objection this time, most of which is appendices to the main couple of pages. So there isn't, as with the applicants, there isn't really anything to expand on arising from that. The only thing I'd really draw your attention to, as far as expanding goes, is just on the location plan in the application, which I'm sure you've all seen through there, but the people next door, Turtle Bay, Bournemouth, where that's marked, in case any of you aren't familiar with the area, that's your own commercial tenant, Turtle Bay, and that's part of the development that has majority residential premises, your own long leaseholders are next door. What I quite often hear is, but nobody else has objected. Well, if you object to something your neighbour's doing, then that could be an issue for you if you're wanting to sell in the future. So I just draw your attention to that. So, as with the applicant, I'm really here for any questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Stockwell. Members, do we have any questions for Mrs. Stockwell at all? Councillor Harman.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask about the flyers that were included as one of the appendices in your objection. So I just want to, number one, firstly, clarify, are these printed materials, and are you aware that they've been distributed? And if so, in what way? I just want to understand a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Councillor Harman. As I said, when I submitted them, they were given to me by a third party. So I'm not in a position to say whether they were distributed at all in Bournemouth. And I'm quite, as the applicant has said in their rebuttal of my objection, I think it's fair to call it that, I'm not in a position to say where that was distributed. I mean, I was told by the third party it was Bournemouth, but I have never seen that. I've never seen flyers in Bournemouth on the ground that have come from Wiggle or any of the other strip clubs. I've only heard that secondhand. So I really can't say.
Thank you. And if I might, Chair, I was going to ask, because they appear to me as if there are digital images that would have been online. Are we able to ask the applicant for clarification if printed materials have ever been produced or within the last 12 months, or if indeed these are just advertising images that have been online? I just would like a bit of clarity there.
Are you able to enlighten us, please?
Yeah, so printed materials have been produced in the last 12 months, but not for the Bournemouth premises. This was for the Portsmouth premises. And there is no stipulation on our Portsmouth licence with regard to touting, soliciting or distributing flyers. We're allowed to do it there. And we do work with companies and promotion staff in the Portsmouth premises. And in fact, on one of the wristbands, it was a wristband from 2011. it says Wiggle Portsmouth on the wristband that was included within the pack. So it labelled and says Portsmouth. It's nothing to do with Bournemouth, which was in our rebuttal response, if you will.
Thank you for that. Any further questions?
No, that was that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, are you saying these are leaflets but in different, or are they online?
Could you
Can I
just confirm
sorry,
for us? Are the
we're
images?
talking about these, aren't we? The
Yeah.
images.
Yes.
Yeah. So are these leaflets that you use as leaflets in other venues, or are these pictures from online?
These are online only. These are not flyers. These are not print materials. They are online only promotions used on Fatso online ticketing platforms.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. If there are no further questions, can I choose Mrs. Stockwell?
Chair, I just wanted to clarify that those images of those sort of brightly coloured images that were just being held up, those are ones that I submitted not as flyers. The flyers are something different, but they are, as you've just said, images that were online. And if it's given the impression that they might have been leaflets, I certainly regret that. If that's, you say one thing and people do something different. I certainly didn't want to give the impression that those images of women were in any way leaflets that were distributed.
Thank you, Mrs. Stockwell. I think that's been confirmed by the applicant.
So she been given in there's nothing else in the pack.
Mrs. Stockwell, are you able to just confirm if your objection included the printed flyer? Is that in your objection?
Chair, that's quite difficult for me to say. It may have been added to it. I was sent those bits that I was told by the third party were printed after I submitted my initial objection. So I think that's how they're with my objection. So you can.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I could object. I could withdraw that part actually, because the applicant has said that they came from Portsmouth and they're nothing to do with Bournemouth and weren't in Bournemouth. So I think, seeing as the third party isn't here, that I have no option really but to go with what the applicants have said, and withdraw that part if that's acceptable.
Sarah?
I might be able to throw a bit of light onto it. We had a query from a competitor who sent me the photographs of the leaflets, saying that they were being distributed, but when I referred it to that, we discovered it was Portsmouth and the out of date, so it was nothing to do with the Bournemouth venue, and they said thank you, they'll leave it like that, so it was fine.
Thank you for that. Right, if there are no further questions, I will move on to summing up. So, Mrs. Stockwell, do you have anything further to add to your objections at all?
Thank you, Chair. And just to summarise, I would say that I've given you everything that you would need to refuse this licence. I've given you issues on suitability, both of the applicant and of the neighbourhood and adjoining and nearby premises. And I've shown you that, I'm afraid it is rather weighty this time, but that's mainly from looking at what's happened in other parts of the country to really empower you to say no to this application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Stockwell. Mr. Olger, did you have anything else to add in support of your application at all?
Yes, I've operated the Wiggle clubs now for over 20 years, which includes our Portsmouth venue as well. And in all that time, we've never really ever been refused any of our licences, because we uphold all the requirements for us. My son is a DPS at Bournemouth. I oversee everything from head office, and I will randomly visit each of our venues just to make sure that the objectives are being adhered to. And we've always operated in a high standard. We look after the performers. We make sure that they're looked after and that they're not put to any harm or anything like that.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, I will now conclude the hearing. At the end of this meeting, the subcommittee will adjourn in private with the legal advisor and clerk to deliberate. The decision will be conveyed to you in writing as explained earlier. Thank you for your attendance this morning, and we'll issue our notification in due course. Thank you. Thank you, members. Item 6 on this morning's agenda is the exclusion of the press and public. In relation to the items of business appearing below, the committee is asked to consider the following resolution: that, under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1 and 2 in Part 1 of the Schedule 12A of the Act, and that the public interest in withholding the information outweighs such interest in disclosing the information. Are members in agreement?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, members.